Welcome to Three and Out with Jason and Kevin. I'm Jason. That is Kevin. We are on the Orange and Black Insider on YouTube. It is us, and it's John and Anthony over at OBI. And then on the audio side of it, we are on the Believe Network, BLEAV. The channel is called Believe in Cincy. It's us. It's OBI with John and Anthony. It's Matt and Willie No Ball. And then it's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends. Like, subscribe, follow. I know Bengals content pretty much every single day, even though we are in summer break. The dog days of summer. So yeah, Bengals content all the time. Nothing to talk about. We were kind of just texting earlier this week that, maybe they get a deal done. No, but there's nothing on the, there's nothing like pressing between now and
I'm not
whatever.
Overly pressed, and I feel like I'm the only one.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Like annoying, but like I actually am pretty confident Henderson's getting signed, and I'm 100% confident Stewart's getting signed.
Yeah,
so I'm just not pressed on it.
No, I totally agree. I actually just wrote this week. I do believe both of them will be signed. Both defensive ends will be signed. But it's just, I'm just saying that we're in this summer break where there is really no time anymore. Like there's no pressing time. Just if you get it done over this point, there's no difference between day one of summer break and the last day of summer break. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like we've been talking, I think, a lot about the Bengals over the last couple of weeks, and it seems that we've drifted apart. Where you typically, like when we talk, like we're all on, we're pretty on board with what the other person's saying. It's like, yeah, I agree, or and now it seems that you are looking at the team through what I would say are rose-colored glasses, and I am looking at the team through the filter of septic tank water. So,
a murky aquarium,
murky aquarium,
a college student's aquarium.
Yes, a college student's aquarium. Yes, very much so. It's a college aquarium, and it's all doom and gloom,
Yep.
And we kind of talked about, we avoided having this conversation throughout the week so we could have it now, which is what we're going to do.
We went back and forth. Is this a debate? Is it not? I asked Jason to just let me convince him about the doom and gloom. Because here's what Jason said to me. He said that we're not going to be a better team than last year. That he does not have expectations.
Right.
Beyond what we did last year. Would you say that's fair, Jason?
I would say, looking at the team that I see now, that they are paying more money for a worse team and that they will finish plus or minus a game.
Yep.
They were 9-8.
Okay.
I could see anywhere between 8-9 and 10-7.
Sure.
I don't think they'll win the division. I mean, 10-7 probably gets in the playoffs. You know what I mean? I can't really say how doom and gloom I am about that, but like they're a 500 team. That's who I see right now. Like I don't see a contender for the division.
I'm going to go on the offense here. I'm going to have a couple points written down. I'm ready.
Yeah.
But you said
offense is going to be hard for me to.
You said we're a worse team. We're a worse team.
Yes.
If you wanted to argue we're paying more for the same team, but we're paying more for a worse team, how is this team possibly worse than last year? Okay.
All right. So let me say this. We're paying more money because we've paid T. Higgins and we paid Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Right. I think that we both agree they will pay. I think Trey Hendrickson will take a little bit less than he wants. The Bengals will pay a little bit more than they want. They'll kind of meet there in the middle, and they'll get Shamar Stewart, right?
Yes.
What I see is that they have the same edge rusher that they had last year, who was fantastic, 17.5 sacks, and if we're lucky, he puts up 10. You know what I mean? Shamar Stewart's a complete unknown. We have no idea. He could come in and have 15 sacks his rookie year and be defensive rookie of the year. He could have 2. He could be nothing. We have no idea. We don't even really know. We know he's talented, but we haven't seen him do anything.
Here's where we're at.
Okay.
You're not arguing that you're not arguing he's worse. You're arguing he might not be better. So I'm saying get worse.
Right. I'm saying that he is worse than just because of the lack of experience. I can't sit here and say, oh, Shamar Stewart's going to step in and start. I don't know that. So what I see as the most likely starters, that's what I was saying. As my most likely starter is whoever of those two steps up. But Osai had, he finished the season, I think 5 sacks in the last 7 games, and they played nobodies throughout the. I mean, it's good, and he got a lot of snaps because Sam Hubbard went out, and maybe that's good. Maybe it's good, but we've also seen, when's Osai going to break out? When's Osai going to break out? When's, you know what I mean? And then I
do. I feel like you're avoiding the question because unless you're about to make the point to me that you think Osai is worse than Hubbard was last year, then you're not making the argument that we're a worse team. You're simply making the argument we might not be a better team. That's a different argument.
Saying, I agree with you. I'm going to say, I can't sit here and say full face that Osai is worse than Sam Hubbard was at the beginning of last year when he was hurt. I cannot say that. I get that. But I also don't think it's fair to look at Osai and say, hey, 5 sacks over the last 7 games. Let's extrapolate that for a whole season, and that's just going to be what he's going to get. He could do nothing. Like, he really could.
Which is not what I'm doing.
I know, I get it. I'm just saying we don't have enough sample size of anybody that plays on the opposite side of Trey Hendrickson to be confident enough that whoever it is will be great for a whole season, or not even great, good. You know what I mean? Good.
Just as good or better than Hendrickson. This is the crux of what my argument is. Okay? Is everybody looks, first off, I'm stepping back. Let's look at the offense. Okay?
Yeah.
We're going to look at the offense for all of 10 seconds because I will hear nothing about the offense. My argument is not that the Bengals have done everything they can do in order to make this team great. That's different. My argument is this team will be better next year than last year. And you cannot look at the offense and suggest anything other than it's a top 5 offense again. I get they should have put 2 guards out there, but they're not going to get worse on the O-line. Not with Mims having another year, not with Orlando Brown getting healthier, not with Karras still stepping in, not with 2 bottom guards in the entire league being replaced, even if it's by rookies. They will at least be the same. It will at worst even out, but it might be slightly better. Other than that, the offense is the exact same offense they rolled out last year, minus Burrow having weird hand stuff. Yeah. It's going to be a top 5 offense.
I agree in general. I agree in general that it will be a top 5-ish offense, but I don't think it's because the Bengals set them up for success. I think it's because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are magicians, and T. Higgins is a bona fide number 1 receiver.
That sounds like being set up for success.
I know. Here's the issue that I have. The issue that I have is that they have the crown jewel. They have Joe Burrow, and they said, hey, what do we need on the offensive side of the ball? Like, we would like to keep Jamar. We would like to keep Higgins. We need to protect Joe Burrow because we had the 2 worst offensive guards that, like, working together, stopping interior pass rushers. And what they did was they cut Alex Kappa, and then they signed Lucas Patrick, who's like a 31-year-old journeyman center guard. They re-signed Cody Ford, who's played every position on the Bengals, mediocre-ish, as a backup. And they restructured Cordell Volson's contract, so he's still sticking around. And then they drafted Dylan Fairchild. One's a rookie. I can't sit here and say we can't say anything about. I know that, like, there's all this stuff. It's like, oh, he didn't allow any pressures. He was a great pass rusher. Like, I get all that. He's also a rookie. There's going to be an adjustment period. Ted Karras is great at center. I like it. I like Mims, and I like Orlando Brown Jr. I also understand those are 2 big guys. It's hard for those guys to stay healthy.
No. We are not projecting. We are not projecting injuries week 1 in order to justify. Because also, you're going off point here. You keep going off point. The argument is, will they be better? I get they did not do everything they needed to do.
I think they'll be the same.
Offense the best offense in the world. But you still are not. Are you arguing that Lucas and Dylan Fairchild are going to be worse?
No, I'm not.
Significantly,
I'm not saying that.
So much worse that the improvements of a healthy Orlando Brown and a healthy Mims will not offset it. Because unless you're arguing that, then we have just the offense is great. The offense
I already said
it could be better, but
I'm going to have a hard time with this offense. I already said I'm going to have a hard time arguing with you in offense.
Okay,
I think at worst it's the same as last year, and last year it was great.
I do. Top 5 offense.
Okay, fine. Offense, top 5. We'll move on to defense. I think that the fact that they're just rolling the dice with these 2 guards is crazy, but you're right. We can't just.
I agree. It is crazy. That's the point I'm making.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So on the
Let's
defense,
move on to defense.
I do have things I want to say about this. So let's look at what they did in free agency. They brought in TJ Slayton. They brought in Burks, and they brought in another linebacker. I forget who it was. But those are all the two linebackers they brought in are rotational guys. You know what I mean? They're not going to be, I don't think they're going to start. They cut
I
Jermaine
think
Pratt.
Brooks has an outside chance, but I agree.
Think so?
I'm not counting on it. Outside chance. I'm not counting
on it. They didn't they didn't really do anything to address the depth at the interior defensive tackle position, which I think they're banking on their year two guys to take a step, which is possible. I totally see that. Logan Wilson's there. You know, he's reliable. We're going to probably see a rookie linebacker starting next to him, Demetrius Knight, I would think. The issue I have, I think, is the secondary. Is last year, there's the secondary against it was awful, beyond awful. The whole defense was bad, but if I had to say, if I had to boil it down to one thing that held them out of the playoffs last year, I would say it was the secondary, is the Bengals' pass defense. Now, it isn't helped that they only had one consistent pass rusher. You know what I mean? It doesn't help that, how many times did you see Lamar Jackson just sit in the pocket for 20 minutes? So I know it's hard to cover a wide receiver for 10 minutes or whatever. I also understand there were a lot of injuries. But the Bengals are coming in with Cam Taylor-Britt, okay, and Jordan Battle are the only two guys that we've seen play well for this team, okay? In theory...
I will... Yeah. No. Okay. Okay,
go
on.
In theory, their other safety... Just totally blanking on names. Yes, Stone, sorry. Their other safety, Geno, and he was okay last year. He was bad in the beginning of the year. Got better. Things kind of got better. Again, play against a lot of bad offenses in the end of the season. In theory, he could be good. But you have, on the other side, you have DJ Turner, who we really don't know what he can do. He's super athletic, but he was hurt last year. And then we have Dax Hill, and we have no idea what he is. I don't know if they have any idea what he is. They say, he's going to be he's a starting corner. Looks really good in the preseason. He's hurt and he's gone. And we haven't seen anything. I think the whole secondary, which was the weakest part of their defense last year and the most riddled with injuries, obviously.
Sure.
I think that just rolling with what they got is crazy. It's crazy. I don't know if Geno Stone's going to be good. I really don't. If he's not good, they don't have anyone there. They can't bench him. Like, who else do they have? If one of their corners doesn't work out, what are they going to do? You know what I mean? They don't have a lot of depth. They didn't really address the position in the offseason. I expected them to bring in a free agent. They didn't. I expected them to draft. They didn't. They're just going with guys who the only opportunity we had ever seen them to play got injured and have no experience. And I don't see how they're going to be better starting over from a new system and all that stuff. To me, it just doesn't make sense, man. It just doesn't make sense how you could do that. It just, everything that they're doing is, hey, we have Joe Burrow, we have Jamar Chase. That's all we really care about. And we think that we can win a Super Bowl with this, and everything else, we're going to roll the die. We're going to roll the die. And that's just so risky, so incredibly risky, right? To not say, hey, let's bring in a safety.
It's not.
Okay.
No, it's not risky. Because here's the point. Again, it feels to me that you're arguing a different point than I'm arguing. You did not make a single point about why the Bengals defense will be worse.
Okay.
You only said you do not believe it can get better. And I get your point. I understand fully. You look at Cam Taylor-Britt, you go, he had a good season than a bad season where it's not certain where he is. You look at Dax Hill and you go, man, he was rising up. He was looking good, but we just ultimately don't know what he's going to become. DJ Turner, man, he's really hitting his stride. That he got injured where it's not certain what he's going to become, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But none of these players are going to get worse. Here, what is this a list of, Jason?
Cam Taylor-Britt got worse last year.
He's not going to get worse than he was last year. You think Cam Taylor-Britt is going to get to the point where he is arguably but that is what you're saying, because you're saying the defense
I'm
will
just
get worse.
using an experience. I'm just using that as an example. You said
I do not think
none of these guys are going to get
at
worse.
A record low level is going to get even worse. No,
that's not what I'm saying. I'm not using him I'm not saying him specifically. I'm just saying you said none of these guys are going to get worse, and I said, well, hey, he got worse last year. So what stops? How does that mean Geno Stone isn't worse this year, or Jordan Battle doesn't take a step back? Any of these guys?
Because you don't have a reason to believe that. You can't just decide that. You can't just argue that somebody might for no reason. We watched them ascend. We watched Dax Hill play better and better. We watched DJ Turner play better and better. We know Cam Taylor-Britt's going to play better in man than he did with under Golden than he did under Anarumo. We know these things. These are things you can project. Burrow might be the worst quarterback in the league next year. He might just suck now, and he might become a fashion model. We can just say that, but that's not the projection. You get what I'm saying? And I'm not projecting these guys to suddenly be incredible corners.
Right.
But, like, every one of them should be a little better. And I'm not counting on that. I'm counting on the law of averages here. Real quick. Joseph Ossai, Miles Murphy, Chris Jenkins, McKinley Jackson, DJ Turner, Cam Taylor-Britt, Dax Hill, Josh Newton, Jermaine Burton. These are all potential starters and or will take significant snaps who, in theory, should all take at least a small step this year. Joseph Ossai will get starting snaps. If not him, then Miles Murphy will get starting snaps. With those alone, they will be better than Hubbard, which will improve the position. Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson will absolutely take a year 2 jump. It might not be incredible. I'm not arguing they're going to be incredible, but they're going to be better. DJ Turner looked good till he got hurt. So he will likely be on the same track he was. Dax Hill was looking good till he got hurt. So at the very least, he will hit medium, and Cam Taylor-Britt will be medium. Josh Newton is the talk of camp, and Jermaine Burton is actually coming across like a reasonable human being. These are all players that should take a step. Small step, maybe, but a step. That if even half of those take a step, that is a significant change to the defense. Mm-hmm. Is it enough that out of our 6 games we lost by 1 score, we win 3?
Maybe.
I would roll the dice on those games as we were last year. So what if we improve just a little in like 6 spots?
I understand what you're saying. And what I hear is, what if we improve? What if they take a step? What if they do this? What if they do that? And you're right. If Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson take a step in their sophomore year, could have a pretty good defensive line. We could really. Sure. If Demetrius Knight, plays like we all hope he can play, could have a pretty good, linebacker.
Which, to be fair, all we need is a small step at that location. So all we need is for him to play a little better than Pratt.
I get you. I totally understand.
That's what we need.
I know. I get you. And you're saying, and all these guys in the secondary that were injured last year, DJ Turner, Dax Hill, if they come back and they're ready to go, then the secondary should be better, because last year we were running on scraps. It's a lot of if. It is a lot of if.
Sure.
You can agree with that. It is a lot of if, right? Here's where my thinking is heading into the 2024 season. You and I had this, let's do some bold predictions. And I thought Super Bowl 100%.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Thought Super Bowl 100%. Yeah. They have a great offense. All they need is like a so-so defense. And I know that we can't project injuries. I get that. They will happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So if it happens in the secondary, we're screwed. If it happens at offensive tackle, we're screwed. But I think that what killed the Bengals in 2024 was they came into the season and they said, hey, we have Joe Burrow and we have Jamar Chase. And with these two, we can do anything. Look what they did. They took us to the Super Bowl. We had a terrible defense. And Jackson Carman was our starting whatever he was, guard, tackle. I don't even know. Look what they can do. And Joe Burrow played at an MVP level. I mean, he didn't win MVP because the Bengals had a losing, or they weren't in the playoffs. But, guys that put up those stat lines in the past had won MVP. Jamar Chase wins the Triple Crown. Trey Hendrickson leads the entire league in sacks. And the team misses the playoffs because the Bengals front office didn't take maximize what Joe Burrow is. They didn't say, we're going to spend everything. We're do everything we can. We're going to put the best guards, best tackles, best whatever, best defense, best whatever. We won a Super Bowl. Now, I thought after this epic collapse of 2024, where they have the quarterback who puts up 4,900 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, a wide receiver who leads the league in all major categories, and a defensive end that leads the league in sacks. Such a huge collapse. I figured, like, well, there's no way they'll let that happen twice. And they're ifs. So many ifs. Again, so many ifs.
But
what
there's
if Lucas
ifs. There's ifs no matter what.
I know that.
But so my question is, what is your reasonable reasonable projection about how this defense is worse? Where is it reasonably going to be worse than it was last year?
I think the main thing that I can the main way that I can drive this, my point home, is basically the exact opposite of what you're saying. Is you're saying, what if they're all good? I'm just saying, what if they're not?
But that's what I'm saying. What's a reasonable projection? They give me
a reasonable
one player
projection
who you can reasonably, one position that you can reasonably say this position will be worse than last year.
Worse than last year, reasonably, I don't know. I can't statistically say that. I think that I'm having a hard time with the Bengalization thing. I think that's what's happening here.
That's what it is. That's what I'm getting at. I'm not suggesting they have done everything they need to do. I would argue day and night that they have absolutely shit the bed. I get that. But there is not a single position on this defense that will project worse this year than last year. And there's quite a few positions where it is reasonable to expect at least a moderate level of improvement. And across the whole defense, a moderate level of improvement, even on 4 or 5 positions. I'm not saying Jenkins is going to suddenly be getting 6-8 sacks, but what if he was just decent?
I get you.
And
so,
that's not really hard to project. Year 2, defensive tackle, starting to get his man strength on, starting to get some real reps. NFL diet plan, NFL exercise.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's crazy to project that.
I don't think it is either. I think the big issue that I have is I'm just looking at everything very pessimistically. Is all the what ifs. All the what ifs. The what if the secondary comes back and they're healthy and they're really good? What if the 2 young guys on the defensive line take a step up? What if Shamar Stewart really is really good? What if, and that would be awesome if he is. It really would be.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, what if he's not? What if they have a trouble, picking out defensive ends in the first round? What if one of their offensive
Murphy or Osai will almost certainly be better than Hubbard, regardless, so the position still improves.
I get you. I get that. And I understand what you're saying. I do. I think that if you look at the Bengals and you say if the offense is the same, right, and you have all the same weapons, hopefully improved, maybe Jermaine Burton maybe gets his head on right and does whatever, obviously he's very talented. Just another year of familiarity between Mike Gesicki and Joe Burrow. So if they're the same and the defense just takes a small step, you're right. They could be fantastic. They could be. If the defense just picks off 1 or 2 more passes than they did last year, if they come out and they're average, they're mediocre. If the Bengals last year, I get that. If the Bengals last year had a mediocre defense, they could possibly have been in the Super Bowl. Really, I do believe that. And if the Bengals next year have the same offense and it works out that way, and the defense comes out and it's better, it's they're healthy and everything, and they're average. The defense comes in like the 15th scoring defense, they could win the Super Bowl. Totally.
Sure.
If all those things happen, right? If all those things happen, that's the thing is you have to hope that they will. And now I understand what you're saying and you're projecting.
I'm just saying we're looking at this different. You're saying if those things happen, you're looking at this and go, if the defense is better, then the Bengals could be a contender.
Right.
I'm not saying if the Bengals defense is better. I'm listing off a bunch of things and saying, let's roll the dice. Here are 10 players who could all reasonably progress. What if only 4 of them did? What if we went against the odds that like Jenkins just he never gets any better than he was year 1. the odds are he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna be all pro, but the odds are year 2 he's gonna get better. But let's say he doesn't. Let's say the only things that hit is Cam Taylor-Britt gets his head on straight. Miles Murphy or Joseph Osai step up enough to be better than Hubbard. And DJ Turner ends up being the lockdown corner he really flashed at the end of his season. That alone makes us a 22, brings us like 22 on defense, brings us a 20. So I'm not saying if the defense, I'm saying if Osai, if Murphy, if Jenkins, and you throw enough darts at a dartboard, you're going to hit a couple of them. That's just the odds.
You will. Hopefully the ball. The reality of it is hopefully the ball bounces their way. There's nothing that they can do relatively about injuries. Hopefully it works out. Hopefully it does. I do truly believe that with Joe Burrow at quarterback, the sky is the limit. I mean, we saw that in 2021. We know how bad that offensive line was. You know what I mean? It was bad.
Oh, yeah.
And Joe Burrow took him to the Super Bowl. It was bad in 2022. Joe Burrow took him to the AFC Championship.
It was not great last year, and Burrow looked like a wizard behind that line.
I know.
He has entered a new, like, legitimately, he has entered a new era of like awareness. I feel like Burrow doesn't even need an O-line anymore. He just dodge he just dodge pass rushers like Neo in the Matrix.
Yep. He needs like a flag football offensive line, just meaning just a center. That's it. Just someone to snap it to him and he can run around. No, I think the reality of it is if the Bengals were so close last year just to making the playoffs. I'm not saying they were close to winning the Super Bowl, because had they snuck into the playoffs last year, I don't think they were going to win. Just no way. Defense was too bad. If they improve 20%, which I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for a bad team or even a mediocre team to improve 20%. You know what I mean? Just 20%.
Yeah.
Here,
I think
there.
Al Golden alone could provide 15% of that.
Sure. I get it. I also, at the same time, know that I've watched the Carson Palmer era come in and fade, and then I'm going to call it the AJ Green era come in and fade.
We're not doing
and
this.
I'm not saying I know we're not. I know we're not. I know. I'm trying.
Pessimism.
I'm trying.
Just to be like, oh, we've always sucked. We're always going to suck. Everything sucks forever. I get it. I'm a Bengals fan too, man. But like,
I'm trying.
That's not a real argument.
I know.
That's just like sinking into that depression.
I'm trying really hard. I am. I'm trying really hard to dig myself out. But
even like little things, like the idea that we ran into last season with no true nose tackle and just like asked a bunch of random D linemen to occasionally try to play it.
Can you do this, please? Yeah.
Like what TJ Slayton will bring. I'm not even saying TJ Slayton's like great. He's fine. Yeah. He's fine.
But he's a nose tackle.
But just him existing, just a nose tackle existing on this team will shore up that D line in ways that will be crazy, because it was always insane that we just never had a nose tackle. The way we play football.
I totally agree. I agree. I hope they learn some sort of lesson, and I hope that maybe I'm just being too pessimistic, and that they have done enough. You know what I mean? I really do like this draft class.
They have not done enough, but they will be.
No, okay,
better.
Okay. I agree. Okay. We can both agree they have not done enough. Hopefully,
no. They really shit the bed. They should be. There's like 5 other free agents they should be signing right now that are available. But that's not the argument.
Right. I do like this year's draft class. I think I know on paper Shamar Stewart, the whole 4-sack thing, it is what it is. But we also said bad things about Trey Hendrickson when he came here. It's like, I think that he really benefits from a better defensive line. Did you hear the Niners,
if the board fell a different way, were in on Stewart at 11?
I did not know that.
That's the rumor.
That makes me feel even better. Yeah. But it's obvious the guy's a freak athlete. You know, he gets on there, and if he just pushes guys, Hendrickson trays away.
Yeah.
Last year the issue was
single other sack. Yeah. Just cause chaos for Hendrickson to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you need to do year one, buddy.
So, but you know, if he's as good as we hope he can be, I really like the 2 linebackers they got. Yeah. Again, I think they're going with the Bill Polian offense. We're going to say, hey, we're going to score 40, and if you don't score 40, you're going to lose. And if you score 40. Maybe we'll go to overtime, but that's not going to happen very often. You know what I mean? We're counting on your offense to make more mistakes than our offense.
Yep. So, and I think this defense will be improved enough to expect them to make 1 additional stop or turnover a game.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. On average, 1 additional stop or turnover a game. And you know what? That might be all this offense needs, man.
Yeah. I do think that the major thing that needs to change this year than last year, and I think that if one thing that I could point to that said this cannot happen again in 2025, it's the whole we're going to start the season 1-4 thing. They can't do it. It cannot happen. It can't. I almost feel like if they start this season 1-3, 1-4, then you need to start saying, hey, like we're going to start moving on from Zach Taylor. If you can't figure this thing out,
sure,
you know what I mean?
Agree. I agree.
Cannot happen. Cannot happen. They
I'm
have
unwilling
to get out.
I'm unwilling to like project that they. All logic dictates they have to figure this out eventually. Like just go 2-2, like logically. But like, I don't know, man. At this point, who the hell knows?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they're starting off with the Browns and the Jags. If you can't start 2-0, then you know you've told me everything I need to know about the season already. So, all right, you got anything else, man?
No, that is it. Have I broken through?
You did. I think
a little bit. I'm not saying you got to believe. You know, capital B, believe. But there's reason for hope. You know?
I get that. I do feel a little bit more hopeful.
But maybe a playoff win, maybe one playoff win. That could be fun.
I could be fun. It could be fun. All right, I do feel a little bit more hopeful. I do. All right. Once again, on YouTube, it's us. It's OBI. We're on the Orange and Black Insider with John and Anthony. And then on Believe, on the Believe in Cincy channel, it's us. It's OBI. It's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends, and it's Matt and Willie No Ball. Like, follow everything. We're pretty much new Bengals content every day. We'll be back in a couple weeks. Who day?